Hey everybody, let's take a look at some more political excess. This time, it's another outlandish 2024 presidential matchup. It's never going to happen, but let's try Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for the Democrats up against Marjorie Taylor Greene for the Republicans. This is going to be a crazy one, as they are both regarded as on the fringe of their parties. They're both known by their three initials, AOC and MTG. They're both U.S. House reps. I think turnout would be down. I suspect most people don't want to come out for either of these candidates, but let's try to play it out anyway and have a little bit of fun. Safe states are over a 10-point margin, likely 5 to 10 points, lean under 5 points, and tilt 1 point or less. So how do I see this going? Well, given the turnout is going to be down, a lot of the extremes of the base would come out for these candidates, and a lot of people would also come out to vote against the other candidate. Now, AOC, she has had some working class appeal when she talks about economic populism. I think that would be her most effective play. However, it seems like she's kind of backed away from that a little bit in the House, or at least downplayed it. She's become more of a celebrity. Most of the media coverage of her is generally favorable. And of course, most of her social issues on the left are definitely going to be off-putting for most people in the middle. She's also young and does have her fan base, so if she stuck to economics, she'd have a better time on the campaign trail. But a lot of her controversial statements would probably be blown up if she was actually running. Marjorie Taylor Greene, on the other hand, she already gets a ton of negative coverage, in my opinion. And some of it's going to be fair, some of it I think is going to be a little overblown. But I do think a lot of her positions on social issues probably will be considered to be too fringe for most people in the swing states, most of the independents. Some of her cultural stuff I think would actually play well. And I'm not entirely sure what her economic platform would be. If she's just all about lower taxes, that's not really going to cut it. But if she goes a little more into some economic populism, that would help her. So anyway, having said all that, let's get into this and start in Alaska. I think that will still be safe for MTG. It's possible it gets down to likely, but Hawaii, that will be very safe for AOC. Back up to the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California. Those will be easily safe for AOC. How about in Nevada? Well, as I said, if economics are a little bit more on the forefront, then I think AOC will win Nevada, and I have it as a lean margin. I don't necessarily think MTG is going to have a whole lot of cultural appeal here. Idaho and Utah, safe for MTG. How about in Arizona? Well, this is similar to Nevada for me. I think MTG is going to be probably viewed as just too fringe, and AOC would win Arizona by 1 to 3 points. Montana, Wyoming, safe for MTG. Colorado, that's an easy call, safe for AOC. How about in New Mexico? That I think would probably be under 10 points, but likely for AOC. North Dakota, South Dakota, safe for MTG. Nebraska at large, safe for MTG. The 2nd district, that is more suburban. As I said, I think both of these candidates are definitely too fringe for a swing purple district, but on a presidential level, this is a little bit bluer of a district, and when it comes down to it, I have it as a lean for AOC. Kansas, Oklahoma, safe for MTG. How about in Texas? Well, this one I have as a likely for MTG. I'm not sure of the percentage, probably maybe 5 to 7 points, I would estimate. Again, in some of these deep red Trump counties, they would come out big time for Marjorie Taylor Greene. But in places like Austin and Travis County, they're either going to come out in favor of AOC or to vote against MTG. Up to Minnesota, that will be likely for AOC. I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to have a lot of appeal in a state like Minnesota. She's not going to win over those legacy Democrats at all. She's going to get wiped out in the Twin Cities, and AOC would win it probably by 6 to 9 points. Iowa, that will be just over a safe margin for MTG. I think culturally Iowa has just went too far to the right, and a lot of the stuff AOC espouses would not play well in a state like Iowa, and even though MTG would be a little bit too far to the right, she would still win that by 10 or 11 points. Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, safe for MTG. Let's go up to Wisconsin. Tough call, but I have it as a tilt for AOC. She would do very well in Dane County and in Madison. And overall in the suburbs, she would do well enough to win it just by about 1 point. Illinois, safe for AOC. Up to Michigan. Culturally, it's went a little bit to the right, even though Republicans seem to have a hard time winning it. I suspect economic issues are what's holding it back. And as I said, if AOC plays up those issues, she would end up winning Michigan by a lean margin. Indiana, safe for MTG. Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, safe for MTG. Let's go to Florida. We all know it's trended toward the right, so therefore I have it as a lean for MTG. AOC would probably be viewed as kind of a socialist, and that doesn't play well in a state like Florida. Let's go up to Georgia. Now, this would be Marjorie Taylor Greene's home state. I don't think she's really necessarily well-liked here. I don't think she could win a statewide race. I think once AOC started putting a campaign together, there again would be a lot of negative stuff that would come out about past statements, past positions, and I think this was a tough call for me, but given that it is her home state, I think that helps her slightly, and I think she would lose against most other Democrats. But in this particular matchup, I have it as a tilt for MTG, but it could go either way. South Carolina, safe for MTG. North Carolina, another borderline call for me. I have it as a tilt for MTG. Again, I don't think AOC's brand of politics plays too well in the South, but I think MTG, she's just a little bit too unpalatable to be able to take advantage of a candidate like AOC, who was at one point regarded as far left. She used to be all about going after the corporations and working class issues, but as we've seen over the last couple of years, I think there's been mixed results, and where she stands is going to be up for debate on some of these issues. Let's go up to Ohio. That will be a likely for MTG. I don't think AOC would play well here. Don't necessarily think Marjorie Taylor Greene would either, but given that, the state is trended toward the right, and MTG would win it by over 5 points. Let's go to West Virginia. That will be a very easy safe for MTG. Culturally, she would do well here, socially, and on some economic issues, AOC would play well here, but the cultural issues are going to win out in West Virginia. Let's go up to Maine. At large, that will be safe for AOC. In the 1st district, that will be safe, and in the 2nd district, that is the much redder district that Donald Trump has won, that will be a likely for MTG. I'm pretty confident she would win it. The margin, I'm not so sure about. Trump was probably the ideal fit for this district, but MTG should be able to win that relatively comfortably. How about New Hampshire? That I have is a likely for AOC. Most of these Northeast states are higher educated, they're wealthier, and MTG is not going to fit in here whatsoever, culturally, socially. Maybe in some economic issues she would, like lower taxes. Sometimes it does play well in certain areas, but AOC I don't think would have much trouble winning New Hampshire. Vermont, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. Those are all going to be over 10 points and safe for AOC. Pennsylvania, that will be a lean for AOC. Similar story to Michigan and some of these other Rust Belt states. The economics, they would probably win out. MTG would do well on some cultural issues, especially outside of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, but I don't think it would be enough, and she would still lose by a couple of points. And finally, the last state is Virginia. It's become pretty blue on a presidential level, and AOC, she once was very anti-establishment. There used to be an appeal about her. She kind of has cozied up more so to the establishment. That would help her win Virginia by a likely margin. And that is my map, and that would result in 251 electoral votes for Marjorie Taylor Greene, 287 for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and AOC would win this election, but it would be fairly close. And as I say with many of my matchups, several of these states are close, and you could flip them either way. Plenty of unknowns, national issues, vice presidential candidates, the kinds of platforms these candidates would run on. It's very difficult to play it out realistically, but I did the best I can do. As I said about anti-establishment, AOC used to be much more in that lane. My perspective is she's fallen in line on a lot of things during the Biden years, and MTG, she is anti-establishment, she is on the Trump side, and I think that does amplify the amount of negative coverage she receives. So this is what I settled on. Let me know in the comments, how would your map look? Do you mostly agree with this, or do you disagree on 7 or 8 of these states? Let me know down below, and if you enjoyed this channel, Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next video.